4:36 on KLAF News and Information in the afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kurt Gilchrist. And joining us now is attorney Tom Brandt, who's represented government entities as well as school districts in several lawsuits. Tom, we wanted to get you on for a few minutes and talk about yesterday's decision at the state's school funding system is unconstitutional. Can you tell us what exactly the judge was looking at when he made the decision?
Well, the judge was looking at a lot of evidence, a lot of testimony, but he was primarily focused on two provisions of the Texas Constitution. He did not look at the United States Constitution. The two provisions of the Texas Constitution that he focused on, one had to do with the requirement that the state of Texas provide free public schools and have an efficient system of doing that, so as to teach all of our children in a free public school. The other was a provision of the Constitution that says that the state is not supposed to have an ad valorem tax that is levied statewide. And what the judge said, as far as the first provision, he said a couple of things. He said that the current school finance system fails to provide substantially equal access to revenues necessary to provide for the schools. So he's saying you aren't providing, under this current system, you aren't providing equal access to the revenues. The second thing he said with regard to that constitutional provision was that the present school finance system is not adequately funded. So he said it's not an efficient system, and it's also not adequately funded, because under the Texas Constitution, it requires that the school districts be funded and have an efficient system of providing that. The second provision had to do with the ad valorem taxes. And as you know, local governments have ad valorem taxes, but we cannot have, by Constitution, under the state Constitution, we're not supposed to have a statewide system of ad valorem tax. What he has essentially ruled on, and he will follow up in a more detailed ruling later, but he's essentially said by requiring so many of these school districts to have so many duties on them, and then giving them a cap on their ad valorem tax rates, what you have effectively done is forced all of them to go to their maximum ad valorem tax rate. And in so doing, you have essentially established statewide an ad valorem tax system. So it's basically coming at it from a standpoint of saying it's de facto a statewide ad valorem tax. Now, the judge did not give a detailed ruling. All he did was he came out with a short ruling that said it's unconstitutional for this reason, that provision, and he'll follow up with some more detailed discussion. But what he did do was something unusual. He prepared some remarks, and he delivered those remarks, and they were quite moving, but it was remarks about why we need to fund the school system. And it was sort of a bully pulpit that he was using to encourage the citizens of Texas and the leadership, political leadership, to get together and get the school system's finance fixed, because it's so important to our future, for our economy, for our children's benefit, and all the rest of it. But it was a very unusual but moving kind of a thing that Judge Dietz said in his remarks.
Talking to attorney Tom Brandt about the decision yesterday, unconstitutional school funding. We cut so much, or the legislature did on the last session. Is the system broke, or does it just need some tweaking to it?
Well, I think it's broke, and that's what Judge Dietz is saying. And unfortunately, we've gone through this dance for a number of times through the decades, and it seems to be that the political will to fix the system isn't generated until there's a sort of a critical mass. We have to have a judge tell us that it's unconstitutional. Then we forced ourselves to go back to the legislature, and then we try to deal with it. And that's what's happening now. There's a big hue and cry among the school districts themselves. They were the ones who brought this lawsuit, and just saying, look, enough is enough. You've cut, but you haven't cut our obligations. So we're having to do things like have larger class sizes and violate, ask for waivers in that regard. So we're not doing as good of a job because it does take money. And although people say, well, you can't fix the problem just by throwing money at it, that's true, but it does require money to run a school district. It does require money to pay school teachers, and you can't continually cut that and expect to have the same or better results consistently over time.
Attorney Tom Brandt, before I get you out of here, when do you think we'll see some changes?
Oh, that's the big question,
yeah.
And it really depends on the groundswell among the citizenry and the leadership. Someone or some group of political leaders having the courage to say, all right, we've got to fix this. And I know it might not be popular to raise revenues, but we have to take care of our children. And it takes some vision on the part of some leadership. Now, whether that occurs sooner or later, it's got to start moving in that direction. And I hope for all of us that it's sooner rather than later.
Me too. It's going to be a fascinating battle. Tom Brandt, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still ahead on 570 KLAF, traffic and weather. Next, an update from the Wall Street Journal comes your way at 4:50, and the latest in sports at 4:53. KLAF News and Information Time, it's 4:50.